Hello YouTube, Freddy Cardona here. Welcome back to another Driving in the News video. I add a Driving in the News playlist to my channel because I want to record history for future generations, and I do appreciate all the positive comments I have received over the course of the year that I've been doing the Driving in the News videos. And again, I just repeat, I know it's not an exciting video, it's not entertaining, but I feel that it's important that we record our history. So if you're new to my channel and you just landed on this video, I drive to work every morning and I listen to 1010 Wins. About a year ago, I decided to record and upload those commutes. And that's what you'll be seeing today.
FM and stay connected. The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world. Good morning. It's 55 degrees at 7:40 on this Wednesday, October 18th. I'm Scott Stanford. Here's what's happening. President Biden now in Israel as the Israeli military says it has evidence that it's not responsible for an explosion that killed hundreds at a Gaza hospital.
And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team.
With the war between Israel and Hamas back here in New York, the mayor says there's been no rise in hate crimes in the city. A new study says the number of young drivers killed in automobile accidents have gone way down in the last 20 years. Alec Baldwin could be charged again in the fatal movie set shooting. Yeah, you know that awful sound, right? Well, if you think you're getting more sleep by hitting the snooze, you may be too tired to even realize the truth. Checking sports, Phillies whoop the D-backs 10-0. They go up 2-love in the NLCS. Islanders won. Liberty looked to tie up the WNBA Finals against the Aces. AccuWeather, we get a mix of clouds and sun, high around 64 degrees today. Wins News Time, 7:41. We get you back out to the roads. What do you say, Sue Aller?
I say here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Heading into Queens at the Throgs Neck Bridge, there is a stall. You are just barely moving. It is just stop and go. You also have Bronx-bound delays as people are taking a look to see what's going on. So what you want to do is avoid this altogether and stick with the Whitestone Bridge. And it looks like 45 is the magic number across the Hudson River. So it's 45 in at the George, Lincoln, and the Holland tunnels. Plus, we are slammed heading into Staten Island at the Outerbridge Crossing. You want to go with the Goethals Bridge, but once you're on the expressway on the eastbound side in Staten Island, you do have delays from about 440 all the way to the Brooklyn-bound Verrazano Bridge. Then in Brooklyn, it's a stop-and-go ride on the inbound side of the Gowanus Expressway at Hamilton Avenue with an accident taking out a lane. In Queens, westbound side of the LIE, right by the Grand Central, there's another crash, and you have a wreck in the Bronx on the southbound side of the Deegan, right in the area of 233rd Street. You got one lane closed. Now we'll go over to New Jersey on the Garden State Parkway, northbound by exit 137. Another accident taking down 2 lanes. I'm Sue Aller. Next report at 7:51. 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
President Biden is now in Israel meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The president talking this morning about the Hamas terror attacks.
They've taken scores of people hostage, including children. You said, imagine what those children hiding from Hamas were thinking. It's beyond my comprehension to be able to imagine what they're thinking. Beyond my comprehension.
As for the reports of over 500 people killed in a blast yesterday in Gaza City that destroyed a hospital there, no confirmed reports yet as to who's responsible for the explosion. The president says it appears that it wasn't carried out by Israel.
Hamas and the Palestinian organizations in Gaza say that it was an Israeli airstrike that just devastated the Ahli Arab hospital. The Israeli military has said it was not us, and categorically so. And they came out very quickly. They put out videos to try to show that it was what they're calling an Islamic Jihad rocket.
It's correspondent Matt Gutman, an Israeli military spokesman, telling CNN that Israel does indeed have evidence that shows it was a misfired rocket from Palestinian militants that took down the hospital. The explosion at the hospitals upended President Biden's visit to the region. Arab leaders have canceled their summit with Mr. Biden in Jordan, and protests erupted last night on the West Bank and across the Middle East. The president is now scheduled to speak to those leaders by phone, not in person.
And as far as the president's safety while he's in the Middle East,
Secret Service sources tell CBS News that rocket launches into Israel during the president's visit are a real possibility, but they stress that there will be plenty of military air support to protect the president. And they point to the fact that Secretary Blinken has been in the region and under protection for a week now, so they know what to expect. But Blinken and Prime Minister Netanyahu were forced into a bunker as air raid sirens went off.
it's correspondent Weijia Zhang. As Israel prepares to invade Gaza on the ground, it also continues to exchange fire with Hezbollah militants along its northern border with Lebanon.
Israel has evacuated 28 communities along its northern border, including Iftah kibbutz. Around 400 of its residents fled to this hotel in search of safety.
And it was all so quickly, and my heart was beating fast.
Meital Yogev, whose husband has been called up to serve in Israel's army, brought their two sons, her memories, and her fears.
I brought those kids into the world, but the world doesn't deserve them. Because there are so many horrors and pain and suffer on both sides in this conflict.
That's Roxana Saberi reporting from the border. Here at home in Teaneck, New Jersey, the town council there voting last night to denounce Hamas, support Israel. Residents for both sides were there.
They waved flags and shouted their feelings and beliefs. An emotional display outside Teaneck Town Hall last night. Supporters for Israel and supporters for Palestinians faced off as the Township Council unanimously passed a symbolic resolution denouncing Hamas. Demonstrators for both sides spoke with CBS 2.
This is very clearly terrorism and anti-Semitism and great hatred.
Palestine has been occupied the last over 70 years.
Police barricades kept the groups apart. Scores of people raised their voices, their words echoing the anger, rage, and frustration felt in the Holy Land. Sean Adams, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Teaneck.
Wins News Time 746 as the war rages on between Israel and Hamas. Mayor Adams and the NYPD say they have not seen a rise in hate crimes here.
Among the things the city's doing, the mayor says the NYPD is beefing up patrols on the subways, on high alert. But he wants New Yorkers to know this.
Thus far, there has been no dangerous threat to the city. And we're going to continue to monitor and keep an eye out, as I've always stated, for the lone wolves who are radicalized in their own homes or at other locations.
Officers also being mobilized at synagogues, churches, and mosques in all 5 boroughs have an abundance of caution, the mayor says. His main message, no room for hate, period. Glenn Shuck, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Midtown.
Wins News Time 747. We're at 55 degrees, headed up to 64 today in Midtown. This is a story about a guy who stole a car in Elmont, New York, and then crashed it into a house in Floral Park on Long Island. Fortunately, no one was injured at that Arthur Avenue residence. Witnesses say the car looked like it was out of control around 8:30 in the morning when it drove onto the lawn and right into the living room. Video from the neighborhood shows the car literally all the way into the house. The suspect, who was wearing a dark hoodie, dark pants, and dark sneakers, took off after the crash. Police are still looking for that driver. For the first time in a very long time, the Staten Island Railway is getting new subway cars. How long has it been? We go all the way back to 1973. George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees for $10 million. Knicks won the NBA title. Oreos were only 59 cents a pack. MTA says that 5 of the current trains in use for the last 50 years are getting phased out for new R211 cars. The new ones have all the bells and whistles, 58-inch doors, real-time service display updates, security cameras, a PA system that's clear. You get it. New York City Transit President Richard Davies said it's a pretty big deal that Staten Island is one of the first places to get the new trains. When it comes to riders on bikes in the city, the group Transportation Alternatives is painting a grim picture when it comes to bike deaths.
25 have been killed on city streets this year, says Transalt leader Danny Harris.
New York City is currently on track to have one of the deadliest years for cyclists in recorded history.
While he does acknowledge how safe it is for pedestrians, Harris thinks the city needs to do more for cyclists and would start with more protected bike lanes.
Protected bike lanes only cover about 3% of all of New York City streets, and we're a city that has one of the largest city bike programs. We have millions of people who are riding bikes.
The DOT responded to the new numbers and listed many accomplishments, among them redesigns of nearly every avenue in Manhattan and a total, they say, of 1,500 miles of bike lanes. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Wins News Time 7:49. A new report says when it comes to young automobile drivers, fatality rates have dropped in the U.S. The data shows a decline over the last 20 years, but says young drivers are still the riskiest group behind the wheel. A group of state highway safety officers say fatal crashes involving young drivers fell by 38%. Deaths of young drivers dropped by 45%. Actor Alec Baldwin could be charged again in that fatal shooting on a movie set.
Prosecutors in New Mexico may recharge Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter for the Rust movie set shooting. Authorities say the case against the actor will be brought before a grand jury next month. It was Baldwin's gun that shot and killed Helena Hutchins on the set in Santa Fe in October 2021. Prosecutors dismissed charges against him in April, but pivoted after receiving a new analysis of the gun that was used. The movie's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, was also charged with involuntary manslaughter. She's on trial in February.
That's Matt Piper. Baldwin's always maintained it was an accident, that he bears no responsibility for Ms. Hutchins' death. Wins News Time 7:50. We are back in 60 seconds. We get you back out to the roads.
All right, guys, thank you so much for viewing, and we'll see you on the next Driving in the News.